All right. Hi, this is Luke Coley. I wanted to show my show control network that I use with a Ubiquiti bullet. It's been rock solid. I use it for tablet control as well as any kind of show control. I use it for Soundcaster to broadcast to my headphones and things like that. So what I use is a Ubiquiti bullet. I have the power supply taped to that. I showed this in my What's in My Bag video, but here it is on its own. So I have the power supply electrical tape to the actual bullet, and then the Cat 5s are in between there just to keep it all wired up with less connections to make when I actually pull it out of the box. I have the power cable for it that plugs directly into the bottom of the bullet, and then I will attach the antenna. This is a 5 dB antenna, so I'm going to set my settings for 5 dB. I'll show that. I'm going to take a couple screenshots so you can see exactly what I set, because I don't really remember doing it as much. So these are the settings I've used for a long time, and they've stayed rock solid. I've had no problems with dropout. I get tons of range. And the nice thing about the bullet is it fits in a wireless mic clip. So you can just clamp it right there and put it up on a tall mic stand right at front of house, and you've got tons of range. Or I use a small clamp, and then I can clamp it to any desk or anything nearby. So that's what I use for this one. Rides in my Pelican. I have another one in my rig. You can see that in the rig video that I have that rides on the back of the rack. That one has an 8 dB antenna on it, so I get a little more range, and I don't fly that as high, so that helps with any kind of range issues. So rock solid wireless, works great for show control. I'm going to switch over now to screenshots, and we'll narrate that. So let's pause here. Okay, so I'm capturing screenshots now. I'm going to log into the bullet. I hope the default password works. Yes, it does. Okay, so here is the first page. This is the tab labeled Main. I'm capturing it now, but hopefully we'll have this already on the screen. So I have my base station configured for the SSID is my name, which is Lou, and you can name it whatever you like. And then I didn't change many settings here that I recall. But you can see all my settings. I'm going to leave this on screen for a little while. I know the default address for Ubiquiti products is .20. I believe it's the 192.168.1.20. So I'm assuming that's the default, but if it isn't, change it to whatever naming scheme you like. Some people like 0. I personally like 1 because that's just how I learned it using Cisco stuff. Anyway, so moving on, that's the main tab. That's what this looks like. Here is the wireless tab. I have it configured to station. Insert Bill and Ted reference here. Excuse me, it's an on access point, so ignore my Bill and Ted reference. So here we go, it's set for access point. The SSID is Lou. You can change that to whatever you like. I personally hide my SSID just to keep people from pinging it every time a phone looks for it. This is the 5 gigahertz bullet, so it is operating only in that range. So a lot of new phones can handle it, and they are in the 5 gigahertz range, so we are getting a lot more noise there, but it's definitely better than 2.4. And that way it stays out of the way of my Line 6 transmitter that I use for Smart. Anyway, moving on. Let's see, 802.11a, that's the... I believe that's the 5 gigahertz. That's the higher speed. Now, here's an important thing. I set my channel spectrum width. I set my channel spectrum width to 20 megahertz. It will not operate well when it's in 40 megahertz. I struggled with that for a long time because I wanted as much bandwidth as I could get. I was really obsessed with meter ballistics and getting them as fast as possible. So, and that's the reason why I don't use a DHCP server. I do everything with manual addresses, and that's why I set up my own show control network, because all my things are set up with my addresses and my gear so that when I turn it on, everything just works and is pre-addressed. So in case you're having a hard time reading, we'll go down. Its channel shifting is disabled. I want it to stay on one channel and not hop ever. That's where you start to lose connections when it decides that there's too much going on in that channel and will hop to a different one, and all your devices will hop along with it that are connected wirelessly. and that can cause connection issues with your iPad to your mixer or any other things that you got going for show control. I just picked a channel at random, I think, when I did a spectrum scan. If it's a real problem and you have an RF Explorer or something along that can see what's in the 5 gigahertz, you can find an empty channel. I have the antenna gain set for 5 dB because that's the 5 dB antenna that is connected to the bullet currently. Output power is at 22 dBm. I don't recall changing that, so I don't think that's a problem. My data rate is set for 54. It says auto. I think that's 54 is the max. Enable DFS is unchecked. I'm not sure what that is. I'm going to click this question mark, see what it says. Country slave. Okay, that seems to be irrelevant to what we're doing. And then for wireless security, I use none because that I had read somewhere, and I don't know if this is true or not, but it can introduce a small amount of lag. And again, I say I was obsessed with meter ballistics, so that was an issue for me. Moving on to the network tab. Let's go ahead and capture that screenshot, and you should see it already. But I have it network mode bridge. That's because it connects to a switch in order to wire up all the things that have wire only and won't connect to it wirelessly, and I like to have wired connections. And let's see, it's in bridge mode, disable network none, and then the network settings are set for static. The IP address is 192.168.1.20. That's the, I assume, the address of the bullet itself. I guess that spits out that address if it were in DHCP, but I'm not using that. Auto IP aliasing is unchecked. My net mask is 255.255.255.0. That means it has to match the first 3 subsets of letters of numbers. That's 192.168.1. It has to have that in order for it to see on the network. So realistically, I can only have 250 odd devices. I think it's 254 minus 0.20 and 255. I don't think I can assign to, so I guess it's 253. That's more than enough for me for what I'm doing. And then I use the primary DNS IP as 8.8.8.8. I believe that's the Google default DNS. Just give it a value. When my iPad has a hard time connecting, I'll also fill in that number. A lot of times iPads, especially Apple products, don't like when there isn't an internet connection behind the wireless, so it'll say like no internet connection. You can usually trick it into just giving you the checkbox and the Wi-Fi icon in the upper left and giving you a connection and an IP address. And again, when you're using any device, whether it be an Android tablet, your computer, anything like that, it's best to have a static IP in this situation. So that way nothing ever changes, nothing moves, everything stays exactly where it should be. And then I have filled in here, DHCP fallback IP is the router's IP, 192.168.1.20. That's so I can get into the configuration which we're in right now. I have my firewall disabled. I'm going to move on to the advanced tab. I don't recall changing anything here, but I'm going to go ahead and post it in case there's anything that changes. Let's see. I'm just going to leave that on screen for a little while. I'll read through it real quick. I don't remember changing any of these when I set it up, so but these are my settings. Again, this has been running rock solid, so I'll just go ahead and read them off. Rate algorithm is EWMA. There's optimistic and conservative. I'd like to be optimistic. Noise immunity is disabled. The box is unchecked for enabled. RTS threshold is 2346, and it's clicked to off. Fragmentation threshold, I don't recall doing any of this. Same numbers, 2346. The check is in the off box. Distance is 0.4 miles. I think this is for when you use 2 bullets. I think Nathan Lively is using it in this configuration as a station to pass a network connection to another bullet. I personally don't do that because I keep all my stuff in one place, and that's because I tablet mix for my mixers. So all my stuff lives on the side of the stage and can be wired with shorter Cat5 connectors. Or Cat5 is the cable, but you know what I mean. Everything's wired together. Okay, ACK timeout 25, and it's clicked for auto adjust. Super AG features, nothing is checked here. Multicast data, it is not checked for allow all. Multicast rate is at 54. Extra reporting is not checked for the enabled. Installer EIRP calculation is checked for enabled. Again, I don't recall doing any of this stuff. And further down, you can see, I'll take another screenshot. You can change your signal LEDs for threshold if you want to. I didn't change these because I don't look at the LEDs most of the time, and my other bullet doesn't have external LEDs, so it's kind of irrelevant. Wireless traffic shaping is not enabled. These values were input here, so I assume that they are fine. QoS, no quality of service on this, so I have no QoS checked. Going to services, nothing is enabled here. I do have an SSH server. Let me go ahead and grab a screenshot here for the lower parts. And I'll do the first things, I'll just read these off. I'll do a screenshot as well, might as well. Let's pull that out. So, Ping Watchdog is not enabled. SNMP agent is not enabled. NTP client is not enabled. Web server is not enabled. Telnet server is not enabled. I do have an SSH server on server port 22. I may have been using this for some kind of command line thing to get into one of my other devices. It may have been for a VNC command. I don't recall. Honestly, I don't use it, but this is the settings that I have, so I'm not going to change it. Device discovery, enable device discovery is checked on. And then system log, I don't have anything enabled here. So enable log is not checked. And remote log IP is blank. Remote log port is 514. I did not set that up. So that's probably the default. And finally, to the system tab, it doesn't look like there's anything of use to us, but I'm going to host it anyway. So it has a check for update. I probably should check again when the last update was for this. I may have updated its firmware last year. But firmware I'm running XS5.AR2313 version 4.04.5074 on and on and on. As long as this thing's working, I'm sure that's probably fine, but it's always best to have the latest firmware with most things. Hostname is set for capital U, capital B, capital N, capital T. That's the Ubiquiti acronym, so that's the Ubiquiti networks. I don't know what it stands for, it's fine. Administrative account, administrative username is UBNT. That's the that's all lowercase, and that is the default. So when you log into your bullet to change settings, it's UBNT is the username, UBNT is the password. I didn't change mine because you have to be on my network to change that, and I'm the only one on my network. Between a hidden network and manual IP addressing, no one is able to really get on. If you needed to, you can do MAC address blocking, but I just haven't bothered. Getting another screenshot here, we have the read-only account. Data settings, on and on. Let's see, read-only account is not enabled. Data settings, Western Europe time. That's probably not my time zone, but who cares? Enable startup date is not checked. Location, nothing there. Interface language is English because that's what I speak. Logo customization, I'm not using anything like that. And then configuration management to download the configuration that you have. I suppose I should probably, I wonder if I could download this configuration. Yep, sure can. And then I will, I suppose I'll post that as a link as a default configuration to upload to your bullet should you want to. And then you would upload that file here. It says upload configuration, choose file. You can choose the file that I will have linked if I can. And then device maintenance, those are just tabs to click. So that's everything on my bullet. It's, like I said, it's been rock solid. Everything's been working great. I've never had any issues with wireless dropouts or anything like that. I've had a solid connection with all my tablets when tablet mixing, and it's fast. I can really see the compressor meter or any other meters for that matter are excuse me, are very quick, as if I was at an actual console, so I don't notice any lag. So those are all my settings. I will post the whatchahoojie. Let's go ahead and back that up. Let's brighten me up here. Hi. I will post those to the description, and I'll put it on Google Drive, I guess, so you can download the file for the configuration. And then let me know, see how it works. You may need to change your SSID if you use my configuration, because that'll be for me, and you can change it to your name, whatever it may be. And yeah, hope that helps you out with some rock solid Ubiquiti wireless. Thanks for watching.